Hey everyone, and welcome back. Today we're going to do a deep dive into an episode that's all about success and productivity and motivation.
That's a really good one, too.
Yeah, it is. So we've got all these awesome sources here, and we are going to pull out the most fascinating and useful bits for you.
That's right. We're going to break it all down.
Yeah, consider it your shortcut to getting all the good stuff.
The best of the best.
All right, so the episode kicks off with this really interesting story about two people, and they're both facing failure. And one person just totally crumbles. They see it as like total defeat.
Right.
And then the other person views it as a chance to learn.
Yes.
So it's this great way to illustrate the power of mindset.
Exactly. And that's where this idea of the growth mindset comes in. It's Carol Dweck's research.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of that.
Yeah, so it's this belief that intelligence and skills can be developed.
Okay.
Not that you're stuck with what you've got.
Interesting.
And this is really huge for you, the listener, because it means you can always get better. You can always learn new things.
I love that. So it's like when you hit a roadblock, it doesn't mean you're not good enough. It just means you haven't mastered that thing yet.
Right. Exactly.
Wow. That's really encouraging.
It is. It's a totally different way to think about challenges.
And it makes you think about how you might approach things differently if you had that mindset.
Yeah, for sure. And the episode gives some really good examples, too, like Oprah Winfrey.
Oh, yeah.
She was told she wasn't fit for television.
What?
I know. Crazy, right?
Wow.
And then you have Walt Disney, who was fired because they said he lacked imagination.
No way.
Yeah. So these stories really show how a growth mindset can help you turn like setbacks into opportunities.
That's incredible. So our mindset really can influence our outcomes that much.
Oh, absolutely.
Wow. The episode even gives this question you can ask yourself when you face a challenge.
Oh, yeah. What is it?
It's, what is this trying to teach me?
Oh, that's good.
I know, right? It's so simple, but it's powerful.
It is, because instead of getting discouraged, you start looking for the lesson. And that can totally change how you see the situation.
Absolutely. All right, so now the episode goes into some really cool productivity hacks that some of the most successful people use.
Yes.
Like Elon Musk, for example.
Oh, yeah. What does he do?
He uses something called time blocking, where he schedules his entire day in 5-minute slots.
5 minutes.
I know it sounds crazy.
That's so detailed.
It is, but the idea is to be super intentional with your time.
Okay.
So you literally block out time for every single task so you know exactly what you should be doing and when.
Okay.
It's like it eliminates that what should I do next dilemma.
Yeah, I definitely have that problem.
Me too, all the time.
Yeah.
And then there's Jeff Bezos, who takes a different approach.
Okay, what's his strategy?
He focuses on making just a few high-leverage decisions each day.
So it's about quality over quantity.
Yeah. And it's based on this idea of decision fatigue.
Decision fatigue, what is that?
So basically, our brains get tired after we make too many decisions.
That makes sense.
And it can lead to you making bad choices and just being less productive.
Oh, I've definitely felt that before.
So instead of trying to do everything, you should really focus on the key tasks that will have the biggest impact.
Right, focus on what matters most.
Exactly.
Ugh.
Have you ever had a day where you felt like completely drained just from making decisions?
Oh, all the time. Even if they were small decisions.
I know, like choosing what to eat for lunch can feel impossible sometimes.
Totally. So if you limit your decisions to the most important ones, you free up mental energy.
For the stuff that matters.
Exactly.
Okay, so the episode also mentions this thing called the Pomodoro technique.
Oh, I've heard of that.
Yeah, it's a way to get things done in focused bursts.
So how does it work?
You work in 25-minute intervals, and then you take a short break.
Okay.
It's really simple, but it helps you stay focused, especially if you're someone who has a hard time concentrating for long periods.
I like that. I should try that.
Okay, so now let's talk about motivation.
Okay.
The episode tells the story about Kobe Bryant.
Oh, the basketball player.
Yeah, and his famous 4 a.m. workouts.
Wow. 4 a.m.
I know it wasn't just about motivation for him, though.
Oh, what was it about?
It was about discipline.
Discipline.
Yeah, like having the self-control to stick to his routine even when he didn't feel like it.
I see.
And there's actually a scientific explanation for why this works so well.
Really?
It has to do with your brain's reward system.
Oh, interesting. Tell me more about that.
So every time we achieve a goal, our brains release this neurotransmitter called dopamine.
Dopamine.
And it makes us feel good. And that feeling makes us want to repeat the behavior.
Okay, so it's like a positive feedback loop.
Yeah, exactly. It's called the dopamine-driven motivation loop.
I see.
So by consistently working towards our goals, we're actually training our brains to crave that feeling of accomplishment.
That's so cool.
I know. And that's why starting your day with small wins can be so powerful.
Small wins, like what?
Like making your bed or exercising first thing in the morning.
Okay.
Those little things can trigger those dopamine hits and set you up for a more productive day.
That makes sense. You're building momentum.
Right. And those small wins also contribute to a sense of self-efficacy.
Self-efficacy. What's that?
It's basically believing in your own ability to achieve things.
Okay.
The more you experience success, even on a small scale, the more confident you become in your ability to tackle bigger challenges.
That makes sense.
So speaking of challenges, this episode shares this incredible story about Jack Ma.
Jack Ma, who's that?
He's the founder of Alibaba,
Oh, wow.
and his journey is like the ultimate example of resilience.
Really?
He faced so much rejection. He was rejected from Harvard 10 times.
10 times.
I know, and he failed at over 30 jobs.
Wow.
And he was even rejected from KFC.
Seriously?
Yeah, it's crazy.
That is unbelievable.
You know, right?
Yeah.
But his story shows that success isn't always a straight line.
Right.
It's often filled with obstacles and setbacks.
It's about how you handle those setbacks.
Exactly. And what sets successful people apart is their ability to persevere through those challenges.
To keep going even when it's tough.
Yeah, it's like that saying, it's not about how many times you fall down, it's about how many times you get back up.
I love that.
And this is where Angela Duckworth's research on grit comes in.
Grit.
Yeah, she found that perseverance or grit is a stronger predictor of success than talent or IQ.
Wow, so it's more important than talent.
It seems that way. It's about having that unwavering determination to keep going,
I see.
even when things get really, really tough.
So how do we cultivate that grit? How do we keep going when we just want to give up?
Well, one technique is called mental reframing.
Mental reframing.
Yeah, it's about shifting your perspective.
Okay.
From, I can't do this, to, I haven't mastered this yet.
Oh, that's interesting.
I know, right? It's a subtle shift in language, but it's powerful.
It is. It changes the whole feeling.
Yeah, it takes away that feeling of defeat and it replaces it with a sense of possibility.
And possibility is what we need.
Exactly. And speaking of growth, the episode finishes up with this: look at the power of habits.
Habits.
Yeah, they talk about James Clear's book, Atomic Habits.
Oh, I've heard of that book.
Yeah, and it highlights how tiny habits can actually compound over time and create massive results.
Like what kind of tiny habits?
It could be anything, really. Like, imagine improving just 1% each day over a year.
1%.
Yeah, the results would be exponential.
That's incredible.
I know, it makes you think about the small changes you can make in your daily routine that could have a huge impact over the long run.
Yeah, it really puts things in perspective.
So what's actually happening in our brains when we form these habits?
Well, there's this part of our brain called the basal ganglia,
Okay.
and it plays a key role in automating our behaviors.
Interesting.
So as we repeat an action, the basal ganglia takes over, and that action requires less and less conscious effort.
So it becomes automatic.
Exactly. That's how habits become ingrained in our routines.
So we're literally rewiring our brains when we form new habits.
Pretty much.
That's pretty amazing. And for those of us who struggle with starting new habits, the episode gives this great tip called the 2-minute rule.
The 2-minute rule?
Yeah.
What is that?
The idea is to start with a ridiculously small version of the habit you want to develop.
Ridiculously small.
Yeah. So, like, if you want to read every day, just start by reading one sentence.
One sentence.
Or if you want to exercise, do one push-up.
So you're basically tricking your brain into taking action.
Exactly. And once you get started, it's easier to keep going.
I see.
And that consistency, even in those small doses, is what leads to lasting change.
So we've covered a lot in this first part of our deep dive.
We have.
We've talked about mindset productivity hacks, motivation habit formation. What are some of the key takeaways that have stood out to you so far?
Well, one thing that's really sticking with me is this idea of self-awareness.
Self-awareness.
Yeah, like understanding your own strengths and weaknesses.
Right.
And your triggers is crucial for making these strategies work for you.
Because what works for Elon Musk might not work for me.
Exactly. It's about finding what resonates with you and creating your own personalized approach to success.
That's a great point.
And another big takeaway for me is this idea that success is not a destination, it's a journey.
Oh, I love that.
It takes the pressure off of having to achieve some grand final destination.
Right.
And it encourages us to embrace the process of becoming the best versions of ourselves.
And remember, even small, consistent efforts can lead to remarkable results over time.
Yeah. Don't underestimate the power of those 1% improvements.
Exactly.
All right, so we'll be back soon to finish up our deep dive into this awesome episode. But in the meantime, think about how you can apply these insights to your own life.
Yeah, we'd love to hear your thoughts. Welcome back to our deep dive.
So much good stuff in this episode, I'm telling you.
I know, right? We've already uncovered so much, and there's still more to come.
What has been sticking with you from everything we've talked about so far?
Well, I'm still thinking about that 2-minute rule.
Oh, yeah.
Starting small is just so powerful.
Oh, it's like you trick your brain into taking action.
Exactly. And once you get started, it's so much easier to keep going.
It really is. So what other nuggets of wisdom have you been pondering?
Well, the idea of mental reframing has really stuck with me.
You mean like changing "I can't do this" to "I haven't mastered this yet"?
Exactly. It's about adopting that growth mindset and viewing challenges as opportunities.
Instead of failures.
Right. And the episode really emphasizes that our thoughts influence our actions and outcomes.
If you believe you can do something, you're more likely to achieve it.
Exactly. It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy.
And speaking of self-fulfilling prophecies, we can't forget about that dopamine-driven motivation loop.
Oh, yeah, that's so important for staying motivated.
It's like a secret weapon.
Right. By setting those achievable goals and celebrating our wins, we get those dopamine hits.
Which make us feel good.
Exactly. And it motivates us to keep going.
And what about decision fatigue?
Oh, man, that's a real productivity killer.
It's crazy how much mental energy we waste on small decisions.
It's like our brains get overloaded and then we can't focus on what really matters.
Which is why Jeff Bezos' approach of focusing on a few high-leverage decisions is so smart.
Makes a lot of sense.
It's all about streamlining those decisions.
And conserving mental energy.
The stories in this episode are so inspiring, too.
I know, right? Oprah, Walt Disney, Kobe Bryant, Jack Ma.
They all face so many challenges.
But they persevered and achieved incredible things.
It shows you that success isn't about luck or talent.
It's about grit and determination.
Their stories are like the ultimate testament to resilience, and that failure is just part of the journey.
It's not the end, it's just a chapter.
And what matters is how you respond to those setbacks.
It's about getting back up.
What about the concept of tiny habits compounding over time?
It's pretty mind-blowing.
Small, consistent actions can lead to big results in the long run.
It's like Rome wasn't built in a day.
Exactly. Real change happens gradually.
Step by step.
1% every day.
Adds up over time.
So what does all of this mean for our listeners?
I think the big takeaway is that success is within everyone's reach.
It's not just for a select few.
Exactly. It's about the right mindset.
Developing those effective habits and persevering through challenges.
Like we've been given this toolbox filled with tools and strategies.
And you can pick and choose what works best for you.
Create your own personalized approach to success.
Whether it's the Pomodoro technique, the 2-minute rule, mental reframing.
There's so many things to try.
It's a journey, not a race.
Start small. Be consistent.
And celebrate those wins along the way.
It's a positive feedback loop.
This episode is amazing.
It is a goldmine.
And I hope our listeners are feeling inspired.
Me too. What other key takeaways resonated with you?
Well, I really liked the episode's emphasis on the connection between mindset motivation and action.
Right.
It's not enough to just think positive thoughts or feel motivated.
You have to take action.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's about bridging the gap between intention and execution.
That's where the magic happens.
And I'm also thinking about the importance of self-awareness.
Knowing yourself.
Yeah. Understanding our strengths and weaknesses and triggers can help us tailor our approach.
Create that personalized roadmap.
There's no one-size-fits-all solution.
You have to experiment.
Find what resonates with you.
And be patient with yourself.
It takes time to build new habits.
It's a journey of growth and improvement.
And by embracing these principles, we can unlock our potential.
And live a life filled with purpose and fulfillment.
That's a perfect note to end on for this part of our deep dive.
We'll be right back to wrap things up.
All right, so we're back for the final part of our deep dive.
It's amazing how much this episode has packed in.
I know, it really is like we've been given a blueprint for creating positive change.
Totally. And as we wrap things up, I think we need to emphasize one key thing.
What's that?
Taking action.
Oh, yeah, it's not enough to just listen to all this and feel inspired.
Exactly. You have to actually do something with this information.
Put it into practice.
Right. It's like you have a seed, but you never plant it.
Oh, I like that analogy.
It has the potential to grow, but it needs the right conditions.
And taking action is that key ingredient.
So let's talk about those actual steps.
Yeah, this episode gave us a whole bunch of strategies to try.
Pomodoro technique, the 2-minute rule, mental reframing.
Which one really resonated with you?
I think starting small and building that momentum gradually is huge.
Yeah, like the 2-minute rule.
Exactly. You break down a habit into its smallest piece,
Hmm.
and it makes it so much easier to start.
And James Clear talks about this in Atomic Habits.
Those tiny habits compound over time.
Leading to big results.
So what's one tiny habit you could start today to move closer to your goals?
That's a good question. I think for me, it would be something small like taking a short walk during my lunch break.
That's a great one.
Yeah, just to get moving a little bit each day.
It all adds up.
And we have to celebrate those small wins, too.
Yes, every step forward deserves
Get
recognition.
you motivated.
It's all about that positive reinforcement.
It's pretty incredible how much power we have to change our lives.
Just by making small choices each day,
Like we're architects building something amazing.
and as we learn and grow, we become better architects.
It's a continuous process.
This deep dive has been so great
I agree. I hope everyone listening has found it valuable.
and inspiring.
Remember, you are capable of amazing things.
Believe in yourself. Stay curious. Keep learning.
And that is it for this episode of The Deep Dive. Thanks for joining us.
See you next time.